When I was in the 9th grade, I was a huge Bulls fan. I live in the Chicago area, so the Chicago Bulls were huge in the 90s. They won 6 championships in the 90s, and I was a huge basketball fan. One day my mom comes to me, and this is like either playoffs or right before playoffs or something, but it was important. It was important. And she comes to me and says, hey, I got tickets to go see Maya Angelou. We're gonna go. I had just read I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. Loved it. Like, it changed my life. However, the Bulls were more important than Maya Angelou. I was like, that is the night of a Bulls game. It's a Sunday night. Are you kidding me with this? I don't care. You're going. We are going. And I was like, no. Like, I didn't want to cry because I'm 14. Like, come on. Grow up, right? So I'm just being an asshole. And I'm just sulking. I'm not talking to her. I'm just in the car, just like... And we didn't have cell phones. So I wasn't like scrolling on my phone or anything. I was just looking out the window like... We get there... And I'm sitting in my seat and I'm not talking because I'm angry because I'm missing the game. Even though I was recording it, I'm missing the game. I'm not happy. And then she gets up and she speaks. And by the end of this woman's speech, I was standing ovation, clapping, tears. It was just one of the most amazing speeches I've ever been to in my life. I thanked my mom for making me go. It was amazing. Unfortunately, she has passed away, and so I can't say if you ever get the opportunity, but life-changing. Hello, everybody. I'm Dawn, one half of the novel universe, and today I will be talking about Blood Scion by Deborah Falaye. I am one half of the novel universe, and I usually do a podcast with my friend Ashley. However, sometimes we read different books and we like to talk about them. So that is what I am doing today. Per usual, I will start off with my rating, do my dislikes, go to my likes, and I will be doing a spoiler edition because I got lots to say about this book. Right, let's start off with the rating. Or no, let's do the overview. Overview first. Blood Scion is about Sloane, and Sloane is a Scion, and Scion is someone who has amazing power that the colonizers don't like because, for obvious reasons. I mean, we've all read books about magic and the people who don't want the magic people to have it. Meanwhile, Sloane is looking for her mother who has disappeared, and she thinks the colonizers and their army have taken her. She is drafted to join the colonizers' army so that she can fight Scions. And she can't tell anybody she's a Scion, otherwise they will kill her. So she goes to training so that she can fight and kill her own kind. And things happen. So that's what that book is about. I gave Blood Scion a 4. I enjoyed it. There were moments where it could have been better, but for the most part, it's a very quick read. I did enjoy it. It was a little bit different, and I'll get into that, but I highly recommend it. Let's talk about the dislikes. It's not very many, but my major dislike is our main character, Sloane, and the shitty decisions that this girl makes all the time. And when I say bad decisions, I mean really bad decisions. So I don't blame her. I blame the author because she wrote the book. And this kind of goes along with the whole, this book is written a little differently than traditional YA, is that the author makes some interesting decisions, some plot decisions, and I'm not going to talk about it obviously because it's a spoiler, and that's why I said there will be a spoiler edition, because I got things I need to say. But yeah, the decisions that Sloane makes are redonkulous, let's just say that. And it really made it difficult for me to root for her. She's the main character. We should be rooting for her because she wants to be a part of the revolution. We are supposed to root for her. But the decisions that she made, I'm just like, homegirl, I don't know if I like you. And she's not supposed to be an unlikable character. And I'm confused by the decisions of the author. I'll get into it in the spoiler edition, but let's just move on. Let's stick with Sloane. She does not have a character arc. She does not grow. She is the exact same girl at the beginning of the book as she is at the end of the book. And that's a problem. And that's one of the reasons why it's a 4 and not like a 4.25. Because at the beginning of the book, she's upset because her mother has been taken. She doesn't like the colonizers, obviously. She doesn't like that they kill Scions, obviously. And at the beginning of the book, she will tell Ente Bate, who will listen, about how she hates the hunt for Scions. And at the end of the book, she is making the exact same speech. She hasn't grown by the end of the book. Once again, making it difficult to like her. Authors, your character has to grow by the end of the book. Those are my major dislikes. That was really it. The rest of this is nitpicking. So it's nitpicking time with Dawn. Alright, my first nitpick is that this book is incredibly violent. And I don't mind violence. I really don't. But even this was a little much for me. Bloody and eye gouging-y and shooty and stabby and constant from chapter 1 to the last page. It is just violent. The book gives a disclaimer because it is based on children, soldiers, and kids being drafted into this war and to face combat, and they have to kill people. So I respect that. And it does give a disclaimer about that and sexual assault. So FYI, if you get triggered easily, you may want to avoid this book. But it was a little too... I felt like some of the violence could have been off page. I didn't need to read about all of it. Nitpicks don't change my rating. It just something that stood out that bothered me a little bit, and I have to mention. So it was violent. Speaking of violence, homegirl Sloane gets hit in her face a lot. Like, she gets hit in her face by grown-ass men like she's a grown-ass man. Like, to the point where she's getting knocked out. A lot. I swear she's hit at least once in her face by every character in this book. You could probably play a drinking game and take a drink at how many times she gets hit in her face. You would be fucked up. So much so that I started laughing because it was ridiculous. Like, this girl is 15. 15! And she is getting clocked in her face like she is a grown-ass man. And taking it like a champ. Most of the time, she didn't get knocked out. She would just get like a bloody lip or whatever. But I mean, if a grown man is punching you in your face... This book... It was... The world was weird. And I read a lot of fantasy, so I'm used to a certain world. In this book, she kind of spun it on its head. And I don't know if she's a genius or if she fucked up. I don't know. But anyway, first of all, books that feature a black cast, usually everyone is black. There are different complexion shades and everything, but everyone is black. But in this book, the queen, was she the queen or the empress? I don't know, but she was the main one. She was white. And I had to read it a couple times because she described her as having, I think, black hair with alabaster skin. And I was like, alabaster? Doesn't that mean white? I'm just not used to that. I'm just used to everybody being the same color in a fantasy book. Sometimes, if the fantasy is written by a white author, there will be, you know, different races of people. And sometimes, you know, the queen or king or whatever is a brown person or a black person. But very rarely, if the fantasy is written by a black person, very rarely, especially if it's set in an African country, and this is a fictional Nigeria, very rarely are there white people in this story. So yeah, I was kind of confused. And then I was like, did I read everybody else correctly? Like, I know that Sloane's best friend, which I have forgotten her name, I don't think she was white. I think she was black. I don't know. Now I just started questioning everybody, all the other characters, because I just assumed that everybody's black. But like some of the generals, I'm like, because I wasn't sure if all of the colonizers were white. And I just, like, I don't know if she just, because there was like 7 main families, and they're the colonizers. So I don't know if they were all white too. I don't know. If you know, let me know, because I probably missed it, which I'd miss things all the time. So anyway, that was weird. It was not weird. It was just different. I'm just used to fantasy being written a certain way, and when authors like change things up on you, you're like, oh, okay. Another thing she did is that usually in fantasy, it's set pre-modern times. And once again, I was confused because Sloane lives in a hut. And there's like a marketplace where people go in. There are food vendors on the street, and you know the traditional marketplace you read in all these fantasies where, you know, you go out. It's kind of like a farmer's market, where we would have a farmer's market, kind of like that. And I don't know if they had running water. Maybe they did. I don't know. But, and that's not to say that necessarily is olden times, because people still live in huts. That doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean that it's a long time ago. It still could be modern. But what confused me was that, once again, when I read a fantasy book, I'm just used to a book being written a certain way where it is set pre-modern times. However, when she goes to training, they have security cameras. So I was like, and helicopters. I was like, okay. So we have modern technology, but they don't have modern medicine, because they still had to go to like the medicine man. Like, they didn't have doctors. They were still using herbs and creams and salve to cure things. They didn't take up Advil. There were no antibiotics. It was an odd world, and it did take some getting used to, I will say that. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, and although I'm putting it in the nitpicking section, I can't necessarily say that I liked it or disliked it. It was just, well, I'm putting it in the nitpicking section, so it bothered me, but it bothered me because it was underdeveloped. I think because, no, I don't think I've read a fantasy. I mean, I may have. Like, urban fantasy is set in modern times. But the book starts off with the girl running in the jungle, and she's going home to her hut. And so you're just like, okay, I know where I'm at. And then all of a sudden, helicopters and security cameras. So it's like, security cameras? What? Anyway. Last nitpick, romance. I don't think Deborah is really good at writing romance. Because the romance in this book it wasn't great. I'm trying to think of words to describe it. Not great. It's an important part of the story. It's not like it's just some whatever. No, it impacts the plot quite a bit. And so for the romance to not be done well, not enough for me to put in the dislike category. It's still a nitpick. Nonetheless, let's get into likes. My first like is that it's a very simple plot, which I appreciate. I hate a convoluted plot. And this is very simple. We hate the colonizers. They're killing all the magic people. We need to kill them too. I thought the overall theme was pretty good. It's the old, I'm different, therefore people hate me theme. She's different because she has a special power. This has been done to death. Yes. But it's always a good theme for the teens. Feeling like an other has an effect on you. It never gets old. So, good theme. If you are an avid listener to our pod, which you can find anywhere where you get your podcasts, you will know that me, Dawn, the criticizer of books, likes a prophecy. Dawn loves a prophecy, especially a good one. Prophecies can be done well, or they can be done really shitty. But this one was done really well because it was short, and it came in the middle of the book, which was odd. But I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it. So, yeah, this book has a really good prophecy, and it made sense to the story, and the prophecy sort of catapults it to book 2, which I will probably read because I want to know what happens. Overall, Blood Scion is a good book. Like, it's plot driven, so it's constantly moving. It never slows down, so if you're into that, that's good. Sloane, she's not the best character, but there are other good characters in the book. The story is well paced. I was going to give it a 3.75, but it ended well. Like, the ending was like, oh shoot. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, towards the end of the book, I was starting to, like, find some fatal flaws. But she fixed it. The author fixed it. And I was like, okay. So I will give it a 4. So, yeah, the ending was good. It saved it, in my opinion. And I do recommend it. If you are going to stay for the spoiler edition, I'll see you when I get there. Otherwise, thanks for joining me, and I'll catch you in the next YouTube video podcast. Bye-bye. All right. Spoilers are starting in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Let's talk about it. So, the decisions that this girl makes. I don't know if killing Teo was supposed to be like a shocker. Like, was it the Ned Stark moment where you're like, oh, she's not gonna kill the main character, I'm not gonna worry about it. Oh my god, she did. I think she was going for that, but it wasn't set up well. I was just like, so when she has Teo, and when Teo's in the room, and they're like, you need to kill him to advance to the next round of America's Next Top Model, she is like, oh, Teo, I love you. I'm not going to sacrifice myself for you or something. And then he goes, no, do it. And she's like, okay, bye. Like, she wasted no time to kill him. And on one hand, that's a good thing. Usually, it's a good thing because that means that anybody could go any minute. Like, nobody is safe. That's usually a good thing. But in this instance, I was like, I feel like that was unnecessary. It just wasn't as intense as it needed to be. And then she ditches her friends. I can't remember their names. But when they're in the archives, she like pieces out on them. And then she kills Azizi. I'm saying her name all kind of wrong, I know. And I'm like, are you kidding me? She just like loses her shit, sees red, and kills her. And I don't blame the character, I blame the author. Because your main character, you're supposed to root for your main character. You're supposed to want them to succeed. But how am I supposed to do that when you make them a horrible person? Like, she didn't have to set it up so that she had to kill her friend. Like, at the end of the Hunger Games, Katniss is like, we're just going to take the berries and kill each other. Now, she knew that wasn't going to happen, but the point is, we're rooting for Katniss for a reason. Because she's being set up as the Mockingjay. The author has set her up well. She doesn't have to kill Gale or Peeta in the book. Because if she did, let me tell you, she wouldn't have been a character that we'd be rooting for. So there's a reason why authors don't make their main character kill their friends. Because it makes it difficult for the reader to root for them. And it wasn't like I don't know. I mean, maybe once. So maybe she killed Teo and that was it. I could have lived with that. But Azizi too? And they did this whole setup of she needs to find a Blood Scion so that she could save her life. What was all of that for? If you're just going to kill her off. Unless there's a healing Scion that's going to heal her and or bring her back to life. Pull a Jon Snow. I don't know. But like that was difficult for me to get past. And that's the reason why my rating is a 4 and not higher. Because by the time we got to the end and she killed old girl, I was just like, all right. Technically, when you do that, when you have your main character kill an important character or kill a friend like that, it's supposed to elevate your story. It's supposed to make your story more intense. Like I said, anybody could go at any moment, like in Game of Thrones. It made the story much more compelling because any one of your favorite characters go at any moment, but their deaths needed to be justified. A and B, Joffrey killed Ned, not Arya. I can't remember the name of the family, but that shitty family killed Robb, not Sansa, not Jon. The main character didn't kill their people. The villain killed the people. I don't know why the author did that. I didn't like that at all. What was his name? I had just read this book and I have already forgotten these people's names. But her second love interest. First of all, I saw that coming. Like, it was pretty obvious that he was going to be in love with her and they were going to be an item. And I said I didn't like the romance because it's that song, that TikTok song that everybody's doing now. It's like, and he looked at me, and I looked at him, and she looked at me. And that's kind of how I was reading it. He looked at her, and she looked at him, and then she just hopped on his lap, and they started making out. And now they're training together and they're in love. And then he betrays her. I don't blame him for betraying her because he's also being used. Like, oh boy said, if you turn her in, then I will save your sister. Like, he had no choice, basically. So, you know, I don't blame him. I don't think what he did was bad, or he had no loyalties to that girl. You don't know her. It's not like Teo. Teo, she grew up with him. And then Azizi saved her life, and she saved her life. It's just... Anyway. So the reason why I said that there was almost a fatal flaw at the end of this book was when the revolution, the Blades, I believe, they needed her to take down the leaders, the 7 leaders, the Illuminati or whatever. And I'm thinking to myself, why do they need her? What makes her so damn special? I was gonna be like, I'm gonna lower this book to a 3.5 because she's not special. What's so special about her? But it turns out they needed her because they needed her to start the fire, which makes sense. Like, she could just burn it down. I was like, okay, they need her because she could start fires. I got it. That makes sense. It saved it, but this close. I was like, I don't know about this, friends. She was really starting to piss me off at the end of this book. I was like, I hate this girl. But the ending, it redeemed itself. So it was a really quick spoiler edition. I just needed to say all of that about how it was really difficult to, like, root for her when she's just making these terrible decisions, and why it was written that way. I just needed to say that. But anyway, thanks for joining me, and I'll catch you in the next YouTube video, which I already said already. Bye.